What is going on? I got a good video for you guys today. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a little while, but I wanted to get some more miles behind the M3 before I can make this, and now I feel ready. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. Today we're going to be comparing my 2015 F80 M3 versus my 2008 Lexus ISF. So if you guys are not subscribed already, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. I've been posting about 2 to 3 videos every single week for the past few months. I'm trying to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of this year, 2021. So if you guys can help me out, that'd be huge. If you guys can drop a like too, that would be so much help to my channel. We're going to be comparing these two cars. They are very similar, but also very different. And I think some of you guys might be surprised about what I think about them. This is all off the top of my head. Nothing is scripted. This is just my honest opinion. If you guys are considering on buying either one of these two cars, this could help you out. So the Lexus F cars and the BMW M cars a lot of times get compared because they're about the same price range. They offer similar performance, but they are very different. Normally we'd be comparing an E90, E92 M3 to the ISF, but I don't think that'd be a fair fight for the M3, to be honest. This car would blow it out of the water. Just playing, you guys. I have a couple subscribers that have E90, E92 M3s. I'm just playing. I absolutely love those cars. I think they're beautiful. They look so good. They're really sporty. They sound amazing. I was actually looking for an E90, E92 M3 before I bought my ISF, but I got scared away, to be honest, by all the stories, all the horror stories of the rod bearings and throttle actuators and something called the Vanos. I don't even know what that is. There's a lot of maintenance stuff that you have to worry about with those cars. I've never owned one, and I know everyone's experience could be different. I know some of you guys own them, so let me know in the comments your guys' experience. I still think they're amazing cars, but I only own this M3, so I can't really speak on the other ones. So we're just going to compare these two cars. With that being said, this car was twice the price of this one, if not more. So keep that in mind. This is a lot newer, more expensive, but you might be surprised with what I have to say about the ISF. First, we're going to go over the similarities, and we're going to compare them stock for stock. This one is more modified now, so I don't think that's very fair, but we're also going to talk about the aftermarket potential for the two cars and how they differ. And at the end, I'll tell you guys what I think is the better car. So let's go ahead and get started. This is a 5.0 liter V8. It's a 8-speed automatic. It has paddle shifters. This one is an inline-6 twin turbo dual clutch transmission. Both 4 doors, both sedans. Obviously, they both carry 5 people. So they're very similar in that aspect. They're both sedan performance cars. There's just something special, I think, about having a 4-door sports car. I think that's really cool. It's just, there's so many coupes out there. I think when you have a 4-door that can do what a coupe can do, if not better, I think that's just so cool, honestly. So that's why I have 2 of them here behind me. They're both rear-wheel drive. They're both each brand's respective performance division. So Lexus F division and then BMW's M division. They both have big brakes. They're both built with performance in mind. But that's pretty much where the similarities end. This is a V8 5.0 liter, where this is an inline-6 twin turbo. So horsepower wise, they're about the same. I believe this was like 425 from the factory, and this was like 417. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Who knows how much this actually makes, but on the books, they both make about 420-ish, 425 to the crane. They're also weigh about the same. This is, I believe, 3,600 pounds. Same with this one, about 3,600 pounds. So they will weigh relatively the same, which is impressive because the M3 is bigger than the ISF. It's longer, it's wider, it just has a bigger presence, but BMW is really good at using lightweight materials, something that the ISF is not. That's something that I think we can attribute to BMW's just history of racing. They're very performance based, and they've always had that heritage of racing, where Lexus doesn't really have that, to be honest, not with this car at least. They're pretty new to it. They're just kind of showing, I think, what they can do, kind of like with the LFA. They came out at about the same time. They're kind of showing what they can do, but BMW's been doing it. So I think that's one of the things that stands these two cars apart, is the way they went about it. BMW is really performance based. Not only how you get the car, but they really leave a lot of room to grow. There's really a huge aftermarket support with the F80 M3, not just from aftermarket vendors, but also from BMW. BMW has so much stuff you can buy directly from them to increase the performance, where Lexus just doesn't offer that. Does not compare to the BMW. There is stuff out there There's one company that does tuning, there's one forced induction company, same company. They pretty much control the market as far as performance with the ISF. Unfortunately, I think that's one of the biggest downfalls to this car. That is one of the reasons that I went away from Lexus to another brand and picked up the M3. There's just so much more that I wanted from a car, and Lexus just could not provide that. So stock for stock, they're very close to each other, to be honest. I think the Lexus can keep up with the M3 for the most part. I think they're very close. This car is less than half the price of this car. They're really close. Weight, horsepower, braking on the ISF I think is better than the braking on the M3. The dual clutch transmission though shifts faster, it handles better. For the price, being half the price, it really does hold its own against the M3. Now once you go into aftermarket and doing aftermarket stuff, that's where the ISF falls. This car is just, there's so much potential for power, and you can, I'm gonna have 305s on here and I can fit wider. I can go 315s easy all day, no fender rolling, nothing. This car, you'll be lucky if you can get 285s, to be honest. 305s pushing it, you're gonna have to do fender rolling, a lot of camber. Not on this car. This car can take it. That's one of the greatest things about BMW. They really give you a lot of room to grow from the stock car, where Lexus does not. But when you have them stock for stock out on the, say, the Canyons, I actually enjoy the ISF more. The V8, it really does add to the driver's experience. This car can be really fast, but it doesn't feel as fast as this car does, because the way the V8 sounds, the way when you hit the paddles, and there's a little bit of a delay, and it gives you a little bit of a kick when it does shift compared to how smooth this is. This car feels like it's not going as fast as it is compared to this one here. All the noises, it's a little bit more raw, to be honest. I think this car would be amazing if it was stick shift. I think it would make it a lot more fun than it is now. Don't get me wrong, I like the automatic transmission in here. It's so stout, they never go bad. But if it was stick shift, it'd be so much more fun in the mountains, to be honest. This car, you can get in stick shift. I didn't offer it because this is a daily driver. I want my wife to drive it. It's just not going to be a track car, to be honest. I do like taking it in the canyons, but this is more of like my weekend car, and I want it to be fast. So that's why I didn't get this in stick shift. Another reason why I find the ISF to be a lot more fun in the back roads is because you can really push the car. The car is, you feel really safe in it. Part of it's just the fact that it doesn't have a whole lot of power. I think it's just enough power if you have some decent tires. You can really get on the car going out of those turns, and you'll be just fine, to be honest. The M3, the way the boost kind of spikes in through the RPM range, you kind of get on it, it'll go, and then all of a sudden it just like the boost hits you hard and you break those tires loose. With the ISF, I could just really get on the gas and really let the car just rip through the RPM range. With this one, you have to be a lot more careful. Now, once you go into the aftermarket, the ISF, there's just not a whole lot of support for it, to be honest. There's not a lot of ISFs out there, so they just, I believe aftermarket companies just don't see the profits. They're gonna have to put a lot of money into developing these products, and there's not a lot of people to sell them to. With the BMW, since it's already forced induction, all you have to do is downpipes, tune, E85. You don't even need a fuel pump, injectors, nothing to run E85. This car will take full E85 from the factory with just a tune. You throw some downpipes in there and you're doing close to 600 wheel horsepower. That is so cheap to get to 600 wheel horsepower in a BMW 4-door sedan. It's insane. And you can only go up from there. There's so much more stuff they have. I honestly think the ISF gets more attention, gets more love than the BMW. I went to a Cars and Coffee this past weekend. There was a lot of M3s, M4s, M2s, and no one stopped a single time to look at my car. My car, they probably didn't even see it, to be honest. Like, no one paid any attention to it. They did not care about it. Not to mention it's Alpine white. Every other M car there was Alpine white, so it just did not stick out. When I take the ISF and people appreciate your car, people are looking at it like, oh man, what is that? They don't know what it is, and they hear it and they're like, what the heck? Or they know what it is and they're like, man, you never see these, like, that's awesome. So that is something that is very different from the two. Now let's talk a little bit about reliability. That's something you always have to consider when you're looking to purchase a new car, whether it's just a daily driver or a performance car. You always have to consider that. The ISF I've had for over 3 years. I've put over 40,000 miles on it. The only issue I've really had was the radiator. My radiator cracked. I went ahead and upgraded to a Koyo Rad with a new transcooler. This car does suffer when you take it to track. If it's a hot day, you'll get high oil temps that would be the first thing to go. The car just is pretty hot since it's a V8. It does build a lot of heat, so my radiator went out. I went ahead and upgraded, so it wasn't really a bad scenario. It ended up working out for the best because I continued to track it from there, and it just helped me out anyways. That is the only thing I've had to do besides oil change. This car is super reliable. It's just like any other Toyota or Lexus. They're just so well built, especially their F cars. They really overbuild them, which is nice. So with that being said, I really drive this car and I really push it often, and I feel really confident in it. I don't have anything in the back of my mind saying like, oh man, like take it easy. Like, no, I can get on this car and really push it and really enjoy it without any worries, and it's just so fun to drive because of that. Versus the M3, even though this is really reliable, the M3s are super reliable. The engines are really good engines, everything, the clutches, the transmissions. It's a really good car, but BMW having its history of not being reliable is always in the back of my head, and it's something that I'll never lose. The crank hub is really gonna ease some of that stress out, but if anything goes wrong on this car, it is gonna be so expensive to fix. And that is something that is constantly in the back of my mind. That's also something you have to consider when buying one of these cars. It could be a lot faster, a lot more fun, but you always have to remember that this is a German car and things can go wrong, and if they do go wrong, it's going to be really expensive. Versus the Lexus, yeah, it doesn't have as much aftermarket support, it's not as fast, but it's still a really fun car and it is going to last forever. As far as interior quality, the cars are really similar. I'm actually really impressed with how well built the interior of the Lexus ISF is. It is standing up as good, if not better, than my 2015 M3. My seats on the M3, at least the driver's side, has some cracking on the leather, where the ISF has way more miles. It's a lot older, and it's holding up very well. The dash material is very similar. It's very well built. All the buttons, everything is just a really well built car, and it really holds its own against this newer M3. The only thing is the M3 has way more technology, which is something that I really wanted in a new car, and something that I was missing on the ISF. So I really wanted all the new technology, and I do, and I use all of it. I enjoy all of it. To answer the question of which car is better, it is really going to depend on who you are and what you want out of a car. There's a lot of people that want a sports car but don't really care to modify out of what you get, and that is totally fine. Not everyone wants to make 600 horsepower. Some people are totally fine with the 400 horsepower that these cars come with from the factory. That is totally okay. And for me, I think the ISF is better in that aspect. If that's you, that you're not interested in just modifying the crap out of your car, I would 100% go with the Lexus ISF. The looks of the ISF, for being a 2008, it doesn't really look outdated, in my honest opinion. I think it looks really good. So this car is just the reliability, the sound, just the driver feel of the ISF is much better than the BMW. If you do want to make more power, and if you do want endless amounts of aftermarket support and things you can do, 100% go with the BMW. For me, there's nothing like a forced induction car. Another thing you have to consider as well is, do you want a manual versus automatic? Lexus, they don't offer manuals, so you wouldn't even have to make a choice there. BMW offers you a manual and offers you a DCT. That is going to be it for this video. If you guys have any other questions as far as these two cars, or if you have any comments or anything you want to add, please leave a comment down below. It'll help me out a lot. I really appreciate you guys checking it out. I'll catch you guys on the next video. This week we're gonna be dropping off the F80 M3 at Studio RSR. They're gonna be installing my downpipes. They're gonna be doing my crank hub. They're gonna be doing my spark plugs, which I already have as well. They're gonna be doing some new gaskets, seals, stuff like that. I cannot wait. From there, we're gonna do a custom Stage 2 E85 tune using boot mod. I'm gonna probably go with Paul F80. I really appreciate you guys checking out this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. You guys have an awesome rest of your week. Peace out.